Mm. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. We'll do our Gita Dhyanam. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Hari Om and good morning. Welcome everybody. We are seeing Bhagavad Gita chapter 16. The wonderful thing, one wonderful thing about the Bhagavad Gita is that the seeds of ideas are planted in one place. And then as the Gita proceeds, those ideas sprout in other places. So in chapter 2, Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives all the fundamental ideas. And as the chapters proceed, different ideas keep sprouting. So really, you don't hear something brand new for the first time after you've heard a little seed of it do something to your mind. This Bhagavad Gita chapter 16 on Devi and Asuri Sampat, the seed is planted in chapter 9. And yesterday itself, we were seeing in Satsang, Rakshasim Asurim Prakriti was introduced over there, and Devi Prakriti. So this conversation started there. Bhagavan just mentioned the words. He talked about how people with Asuri and Rakshasi Bhav or Prakriti nature, they have vain hopes and vain karmas and vain knowledge, like that. And people who have Devi Prakriti, he called them Mahatmas. And that was it. Very, very briefly, he spoke. But the elaboration happens here. You know, what exactly is that Devi Prakriti? What exactly is that Asari Prakriti or Sampat? Here, Bhagavan Sri Krishna elaborates. So we saw in the first 3 verses 26 values that constitute the Devi Sampat. And then we saw in the 4th verse 6 qualities that make up the Asuri Sampat. So there was 3 verses with 26, and then there was 1 verse with 6. But usually, which one is more, negative or positive? 100 Kauravas, for 5 Pandavas. And you hear these kinds of things all the time, right? Well, the thing is, Bhagavan has just gotten started on the Asari Sampat. What you thought was 6 qualities, well, you'll see what happens now, right? The rest of the chapter is mainly now on Asari Sampat, the remaining 20 whatever verses. At the same time that we talk about how negative is more and positive is less, remember, it is not about quantity. For example, if you have, the old school balance scale, actually, it's not in Guyana, they still use it in the market. When you go to buy vegetables, they'll put the vegetables on one side and then they'll put that 1 pound on the other side and they'll make it balance. And then they'll ask you, do you just want one more to balance it out? And like that, they use that scale, right? Now, on that scale, you could have on one side a bar of gold, tiny little bar of gold, this size maybe. And on the other side, you have cotton. How much cotton do you need to put there to equal that bar of gold? It can't even fit, because the amount of cotton that will be required to get the same weight as that little bar of gold is the quantity is drastically different. So things may appear more, but the value that something has doesn't come from quantity. It comes from something else. It doesn't matter that there are fewer qualities in the Devi Sampat, or sorry, fewer verses that define Devi Sampat, because the weight of them is like the weight of gold in our life. Now, in the next verse, which we're going to see, verse 5, Bhagavan Sri Krishna hints at the importance of knowing the difference or the purpose of understanding which is which. Devi Sampat versus Asuri Sampat, why we should know the difference and why we should choose one over the other. Because someone might say, what really is wrong with having Asuri Sampat? I don't have a problem. I have some anger, I have some harshness. So what? Big deal. It's not like I walk around and people call me, "Hey Asura, what's up?" They call me by my name and things go on as normal. So really, what is wrong with having Asuri Sampat? Bhagavan Shri Krishna makes it very clear now in this verse 5. So let us chant. Who is going to chant with me? Okay, Bindu, thank you. Devi Sampad Vimokshaya
दैवी सम्पद्विमोक्षाय
Nibandhaya Surimata
निबन्धायासुरीमता
Ma Shucha Sampadam Devim
मा शुचः सम्पदं दैवीम्
Abhijatosi Pandava.
अभिजातोऽसि पाण्डव.
O Pandava, O son of Pandu, meaning now he's calling on his lineage. Arjuna comes from a great lineage. He says, Devi Sampad Vimokshaya. The divine wealth are for moksha, for liberation. They lead a person to moksha. And I think it was in this class only I was asking, is moksha what you want? Like you wake up in the morning asking for moksha? Today, I can't wait to go and get moksha. No, we don't wake up thinking, I want to go and get moksha. We wake up thinking, that first sip feeling. That is what I want to go and get. We don't think moksha today, right? So then what's the other option? Well, moksha is not what I wake up wanting. So then does that mean I want Asuri Sampat? Well, Bhagavan says, Asuri Sampat Nibandhaya. That is for bondage. Sorry, not for bondage. Bandhaya is bondage. Bandhaya, we are already bound. Nibandhaya means to further tighten our bondage. The Asuri Sampat are the cause for our further bondage. We are bound to suffer. We're bound to face situations that we don't like. We are bound to face our karma, whether it is good or bad. We are bound from birth to death. Bound, 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 bound. This topic has come up so many times over and over again, right? Now, um, we say birth to death, but actually it is very interesting. We are also bound from death to birth, right? What do you mean? You know how there's a phrase that says rest in peace? I mean, some people, Hindus are not supposed to say that, huh? One moment. Sorry. Huh. Okay. We're bound from death to birth also, right? Means there's no resting in peace. You know what happened? You hear our Shastras talk about different kinds of nara, like kumbi pak. Have you heard about kumbi pak? Where they take the person and they dip them in boiling ghee, all kinds of scary things, right? And you wonder, well, why do our Shastras go on talking about things like this? We're not supposed to fool ourselves and think that that is the solution to escape our problems. Because some people think that, well, when I die, then my problems will be over. No. From death to birth, also, there is bondage and suffering is very possible, right? So, Asuri qualities lead to this bondage, sorrow, suffering, right? So, hmm, I don't want moksha. I don't want bondage. Well, then what do I want? I want something in between the two. Sometimes bondage, one day moksha. No. Actually, we want happiness. We want permanent happiness. And moksha is just a fancy way of saying that. Right? The happiness that I'm looking for is actually the same thing that is referred to as moksha. So actually, we want the result of Devi Sampat. But the problem is we are infamous for wanting one result, but practicing the opposite. Like we want to be healthy, but but we eat junk food, isn't it? I mean, who here wakes up in the morning saying, "Today I want to be unhealthy?" We want to be healthy, but we go and we eat junk food. Then we want to have peace of mind, but we refuse to forgive. Or we want to be rich, but we don't want to put in the work. This is like next gen, eh? They're only looking for quick and easy money. Their whole philosophy is what can I do to make a business that will get me super rich, like a unicorn startup. And then I don't need to work for the rest of my life. This is what. Or we want to sleep, but we also scroll endlessly. So we're very notoriously known for wanting one thing, but practicing the opposite. So you ask, well, is that what we are doing here also? That I want moksha, but when I hear this whole list of values that have to be practiced, and then I hear the short list of vices that are there, maybe that one is easier. It's easier to have anger than non-anger. It's easier to gossip, than not gossip, right? So is it that um well, then I'm doomed forever or what? I wasn't born with the qualities that I need. But the thing is, let's see, but if you wonder whether you have those qualities, Bhagavan Sri Krishna must have been looking at Arjuna must have been looking at Bhagavan, and his eyes might have been asking, well, Bhagavan, what qualities do I have? Do I have these qualities? Because developing them is not easy. I hope I was born with them. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Ma Shucha. O Arjuna, do not worry, do not grieve. Devim abhijatasya asi. You are endowed with Devi Sampat. That means nobody should question whether Arjuna has Devi Sampat or not, because Bhagavan said he has it. Well, Bhagavan, that is Arjuna. What about me? Now remember, if you are studying Bhagavad Gita and you're sincerely trying to learn, then you're like Arjuna. Actually, you are Arjuna. In the beginning, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya explains that Bhagavan Shri Krishna gives this Gita Arjunam Nimitti Kritya, making Arjuna the instrument of teaching all of us. Right? So these qualities are there in us. Whether they're manifest, whether they're being practiced, is a different story. But we will certainly have them to a degree. And actually, our journey to moksha is primarily developing and nurturing these qualities. Just, sorry, one moment. I'm so sorry, everybody. There was someone. Anyways, where are we? Huh. If you're sincerely trying to learn like Arjuna, then you will certainly have them, these qualities. And the hardest thing in our pursuit of moksha is the development and nurturing of these qualities. Because once we have these qualities, then getting moksha is like a instant thing. You don't even have to get moksha, you know? Knowing that my nature is Sachidananda doesn't take time. But until these values are there, the knowledge cannot take root and become our experience. So now, having established the importance of this Devi Prakriti and Asari Prakriti and what they lead to, Bhagavan now tells how this chapter is going to proceed. So let us chant now verse number 6. Where's been? Dvau bhutau sargau
Dvav,
lokesmin. Oh,
dvav,
sorry. I'll
okay.
chant that again. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin.
Dvav bhuto sargo lokesmin.
Deva asura eva cha.
Daiva
देव
as
आस्थिर एव च
De- Devo vistarasha proktaha.
Daivo vistara prokshak proktasura.
Devo vistarasha proktaha.
Te Daivo vistara proktaha.
Asuram partha me shrinu.
Asuram partha me shrunu.
Dvau bhuta sargo lokesmin. There are two types of beings in this world. Now, what beings are we concerned with? We're only concerned with our own selves, actually, right? Meaning there are two types of people in this world. Deva, asura, eva cha. People of divine values and people of asuri values. That's it. There are two types of people. This whole universe can be divided, of people can be divided into two categories. People with asuri sampat, people with devi sampat. And our shastras don't talk about a utopian world. One day there will be only good. They talk about the fact that there will always be these two types of people. That means there will always be Ravana, There will always be Kamsa. There will always be Hiranyakashipu and people who give Hiranyakashipu vibes. But there will also always be the opposite. We will always have Mahatmas in this world, right? And not only that, all of us will have some of each right now itself. In Ramayana, Vibhishana tells to Ravana, Sumati kumati sabake ure rahahi. Everyone has these noble and ignoble thoughts. Means this Devi and Asuri Sampat. But the important thing is which one we follow. So if we follow our noble thoughts, we get liberated. And we follow our ignoble thoughts, then we get bondage. Not bondage, we get further bondage. Right? And he says, Ravana, this Kumati has taken root in your mind. So now we have to check. Am I being like Ravana, whose mind has been taken over by Kumati? Or am I being like Arjuna, who Bhagavan is saying, no, 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 you have these qualities, means live up to them, right? You check which one you have. And honestly, we can't change the world, right? But we can decide to change ourselves and decide which one we're going to follow. Swamiji told us how at the end of their Vedanta course, Gurudev, no, Guruji said this. I can't remember, Guruji or Swamiji. The thing mixes up my mind now. At the end of a Vedanta course, Gurudev was addressing the brahmacharis. And he said to them, don't think that you're going to go out into the world and change anybody. Now you've learned Vedanta and you're going to teach Gita and change this world. Don't think you're going to change anybody. His simple question was, can anybody change you? Look, nobody can change us, even if we want them to change us. Swamiji, I have this bad quality, just change me. It doesn't work. So we have to be ready to change ourselves. And being ready to change ourselves means deciding which side we're going to fall on. And one of the best tests, I think, is if I identify that I'm not practicing a value, which means I'm practicing the opposite, which is the vice, right? Does it come with guilt? Do I have a desire to not practice it anymore? If that guilt is there, or if the desire to not practice it anymore is there, that means that there is there is Devi Sampat, right? But people who don't feel guilty, like, this is just how it works. If you don't cheat or if you don't lie, you can't survive in this world. And their justification, this is Kali Yuga, There's no, this is not appropriate. This is just the way it is. So the thing in our mind is, even if we have or practicing vices, we should try and move in the direction where we don't feel it is okay, but we move in the direction where we start to feel it is not okay. Because the worst vice is to consider our vices as values. People take pride. Don't get me angry, Like, as if that anger is an ornament or something. Right? Or other people, you'll see, I'm so good at getting goss. I don't think they don't call it goss anymore. Nowadays, nowadays it used to be called tea. I have tea. Whatever they call it. People take pride in these kinds of things. But the whole sentiment is we should feel like I don't want to have it. I might have it, but I want to work in the direction where I don't have it, right? Because we're being real with ourselves. I mean, we are going to have negative qualities. And so when we see them, what should be our reaction to them? Okay, identify you. I don't want you anymore. Like that. Now Bhagavan says, Devo vistarasha proktaha. I have spoken about the virtues elaborately. Bhagavan, what do you mean elaborately? You just mentioned 26 virtues, you called their name and you moved on, right? Two things. One is, it's not only here. In previous chapters, he's talked about these qualities over and over again, right? But the second thing is that somebody who has Devi Sampat, they also have the capacity to think more about it. So mentioning it is enough. And then you have the Mahatmas who will explain it to them and everything. But the other side now. Asuram Partha Meshvanu. Now, O Arjuna, you listen to the Asuri qualities. Bhagavan, didn't you say you told the Asuri qualities? He's like, no, Arjuna. That was just the trailer. Now the show is going to start. Not till almost the rest of the chapter, you watch the show called Asuri Sampat. Why does Bhagavan focus so much on these Asuri qualities? Already there is so much negativity in the world. Shouldn't he focus on like positive things? You know, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya explains that he does this. The word is parivarjana, means only if we know about these qualities and if we can see that they exist in us, then we can drop them. Shastra is like a mirror, and you're supposed to take up the mirror and be like, do I have this quality? Do I have this quality? Actually, the question should be, how much of this quality do I have? Not do I have this quality, but how much of this quality do I have, right? And we are clueless about so many of our negative tendencies. Like some people will go up to a grown person and be like, did you know you stick your tongue out when you're writing? Really? I didn't realize I do that. People don't realize things that they do, right? But one of our biggest negative tendencies is lack of awareness and lack of thinking. And I mean this, the pervasiveness of this negativity is unimaginable. When I was in university, I developed a habit of eating cereal for breakfast. And then on the days when I didn't want to cook, I would have cereal for lunch also. And when I didn't want to cook again, I may have had cereal for dinner also. And the whole time that I was eating cereal, I was telling myself, I am making the healthy choice. Because the marketing world taught me that cereal is healthy. Cereal is what you should be eating. Now, if breakfast is the most important meal and cereal is the best thing to eat for breakfast, then why will it not be the best thing to eat for lunch and dinner also? Anyways, see, we is eating cereal in my best interest? If you haven't reached the realization yet, or if you haven't been informed yet that cereal is terrible, then today is your revelation day. But what happens is we let the marketing companies think for us. And they think about every aspect of our life for us. Our whole life is dictated by them. How big a house we should live in, what kind of car, what kind of extracurricular our kids should do, where we decide to study, what we decide to study. Every single thing is dictated by them. It feels like, like someone, I don't know, back in the day, there was this big thing where people would, back in my school days, people would stick like a post-it on your back, writing something really silly. And then everyone would giggle and laugh wherever you go, and you don't know why they're laughing at you. And then like suddenly one of your best friends will see it and be like, "Oh my God." And then you'll be like, "Oh my God, thank you for telling me." But I don't know why that came to my mind, but it feels like someone has stuck a post-it on our back calling us mudha, fool, you know? And everyone, all the companies have ganged up against us and they're not telling us, but they're laughing at us, right? I am sure that there are people in boardrooms actually laughing at us, being like, I can't believe that ad worked. I can't believe they bought it. People are so good at thinking of these things also. They make like satire TikToks and all the time on mocking these things. But the point is, it is a negative quality to not think and to let these companies think for us, right? Then when it is pointed out, we have to think, is it true? But see what happens. We go into defense mode first. Right? Hey, hey, hey. I think for myself. What do you mean? I don't eat cereal. We go into defense mode, right? But here, Bhagavan is not pointing out these things to laugh at us. It is out of compassion so that we can see how we have these qualities and we can remove them. So let us chant now. Take a deep breath and gain some courage and let us see what Bhagavan has to say. What are these Asuri Sampat? And I hope I don't have a lot of them. And let us see what he has to say. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha
प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च
janana vidurasuraha.
जनान विदुरा
Yadavidurasuraha.
Okay, you have to unmute yourself again. I'm sorry. Na shaucham na pichacharaha.
न शौचं नापि चाचारो
न सत्यं तेषु विद्यते.
न सत्यं तेषु विद्यते.
Okay, the subject of this sentence is asuraha, the asuras, the asuraha, asuras. They are the subject of the sentence. Na viduhu, they do not know, they do not understand, they are confused about certain things. Number one, pravrittimcha, nivrittimcha. What is pravritti and what is nivritti? Meaning what I should engage in, what I should work for, versus what I should refrain from or what I should not do. What is my duty versus what is forbidden? What will bring my goal? What will bring my detriment? No clue about pravritti and nivritti. So now you have to ask, well, am I like this? Do I know what I should do and not do? What is good for me or not good for me? Should I eat the extra cookie? Should I skip my shower? Should I watch the extra show? Should I eavesdrop a little harder? I mean, I shouldn't, but sometimes I get confused. And sometimes I feel like I should. Correct or wrong, right? Now, see, if I don't feel like I should, why would I do it? Means there's something inside that convinces me that I should. So there's confusion about pravritti and nivritti at certain different times. And we had talked about this last week also. Not knowing is not an excuse. Not in jurisprudence, neither in the law of karma. Not knowing is not an excuse. So see our plight. We are born. How many of us are born knowing about dharma or moksha? We have no clue. A 3-year-old, you ask a 3-year-old, is that thing dharmic? They'll look at you like, what are you talking about? What? Is that a food? What? But see, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, the 4 purusharthas are there, right? They have value for artha and kama. They have value for security or not. From the time they're tiny. They have value for money or not. They have value for enjoyment. Naturally, they have value for those things. And that is okay because that is the natural course of life, right? But as we grow and our intellect develops, we're supposed to start learning what is good for us. We're supposed to start learning what is dharma, what is adharma, right? And when we don't know, then we lean on the things or the people that know. Now, the world doesn't know. I was telling last week, the only source, authority for dharma and adharma is our shastra. Right? So now you, okay. Let's not think about this one. This one is too hard to admit. What else does Bhagavan say? Go to the next one. Na shaucham. They do not have cleanliness. This had come up in Devi Sampat, right? So then now you imagine an asura in Lanka who wakes up late and doesn't brush their teeth before they start to eat and drink, and they don't take a bath till 2 p.m. And they're like, you know what? I'll just shower tomorrow. And then they don't take their dishes from the room to the kitchen. And you're like, hold on, hold on. If you want to see that, you don't need to go to Lanka. I have some of them right here in my house. When we say na shaucham, we think like that, right? But you please now switch from that thinking and imagine some Bollywood gunda. Imagine Shah Rukh Khan as an asura. He's not going to come smelly, not showered, not brushed teeth. He's going to come perfectly combed hair, perfume, nice clothes. So the definition of gunda is not physical dirt. You know very well. But what is going on in the mind? Now, see, physical cleanliness is a big deal because our mind and our body are intricately connected, but it is not the only deal. So, purity of motive, purity of mind. Am I waking up and thinking, just like I purify my body, what am I going to do today to purify my mind? Like that. Na shaucham, no cleanliness like that. Na api cha acharaha. Now, in Sanskrit, achara is not pickle. I mean, if you don't have achar, you will end up in a achar, right? But not that. Achara means conduct. It means etiquette. It means manners. So they don't have achara. One man said, I thought opening a door for a lady was good manners. But she screamed after I opened the door for her. And the other person said, What? What? How? Why would she scream? It was an airplane door. See, when we talk about manners, we talk about things like opening doors for people and, smiling at them in the hallway and holding the lift open for them, the elevator open for them and all, right? But the achara being talked about here is how to conduct ourselves in society, in our family, in the community, with people. I heard that there was some big thing some years ago where they the way kids were talking to Alexa is they had started to become rude and mean and demanding and all. So the companies had to make some changes to the technology where the kids have to talk nicely. Is that true? Kids have to talk nicely before Alexa listens? I had heard something like this. I never verified it because I mean I don't have Alexa, but I'd heard something like it won't respond to them. Like there's a mode you can switch on where it won't respond to a child unless the child speaks nicely to them. But my question is why only children? I mean, everyone should be treating everyone nicely, no? Nowadays, you see how people treat their teachers. The way people respected teachers in the past and the way people treat teachers nowadays, right? The way people treated their books in the past and the way books are being treated nowadays. Now you will see Hindu children making jokes about how, oh my God, if you step on a book, your mom's gonna like yell at you, ha ha ha. Totally no understanding of the value of those things. You know, in Guyana, I saw such a nice thing. They do arti to the instruments also after satsang because there's so much reverence for that which allows divinity to come into their life, right? Arti for the instruments, arti for the players, arti for the audience because divinity is in everybody. So interesting, so beautiful. Anyways, it's the physical conduct that is supposed to help us to bring that inner refinement. Do you all know the most unrefined group in the world? The orchestra. Why? Because they cannot conduct themselves. They always need a conductor. Anyways, our achara is supposed to start regarding what time we're going to wake up. We're supposed to wake up to greet Surya Bhagavan because he's rising to bless us. So the sentiment is we should be ready to greet him when he comes. Dashrathi did not miss this for one single day in his life. All the bards and the poets and the people, the citizens had gathered outside the palace gates as they normally do every single day before the sun rises to meet Dashrathi as he's going to go and do his Surya Namaskar and receive Surya Bhagavan. And on the day when that whole drama happened, everyone was wondering, well, something is wrong because he's not here and the sun is about to rise. So what kind of achara it would take for someone to say, if you're not awake at this time, it means something is really wrong. We will get, if we are awake at that time, people will be like, what is wrong? but the means our conduct is supposed to be in our tradition, we're supposed to be so in line with nature like that. Anyways, then we're supposed to have a spiritual morning, and it is supposed to remind us about our goal so that it protects us from the onslaught of the capitalist ideas and values that we're going to be battered with for the rest of the day. But what do? We open our phone and we open WhatsApp, and before we can think anything, that whole list of things that we had to do since yesterday is back in our mind. And all kinds of other messages are back in our mind. And where's there time to remind ourselves of the purpose of our life? Achara. Okay. Anyways, you all must be like, I came for like a happy class. What's going on? Like, I didn't make these verses up, guys. This is called reality check. The next one is nasatyam. They don't have honesty. Where do we learn this lying business? If you've been in my satsangs before, you'd have heard this example 100 times. In psychology class, we studied an experiment where I'm going to tell it very briefly. They had young children come into the lab and they had different stuffed toys under a blanket. And they would play the sound that stuffed toy would make, and the child had to guess what that stuffed toy is. So like they play the sound of Elmo, and then they play the sound of Buzz Lightyear, and they play the sound of whatever. And the child is like, oh, this is this toy, and this is this toy. Then they put a Barney under the blanket, and they play the sound of the greeting cards. You know those like musical birthday card songs? And that child is like wondering what that toy is because they don't know which toy makes a birthday card sound, right? Then the scientist examiner person has to step out of they get called. Someone comes and pretends to call them, and then they leave the room. And now they're watching what the child is doing. And here's where it gets really interesting. Many children peeked to figure out what that toy was. And then when the examiner came back and asked them, oh, so sorry, I had to go. Did you figure out what it is? Well, those who peeked, they said no, obviously, you know. But then the examiner asked, do you know what is underneath? The younger children, the 2, 3-year-olds, they said Barney. How do they know it's Barney? I figured it out. But the older children, like the 4, 5-year-olds, their response was, I don't know. They know what is under, but they know it doesn't make that sound. So they know if they tell the examiner what the toy is, the examiner is going to know that they peeked and they lied that they didn't peek. So now they tell a second lie to protect their first lie. Who taught them? Nobody. You know what? When I tell this, in my mind, I'm like, I wish I paid more attention in psychology class. I might have had more examples for satsang. But anyways, I don't know. We are born with this capacity to lie, and it is something that has to be like taken out of us, right? And we have true. Nasatya means we're not honest to ourselves also. That is its own big topic, right? Nasatya means there is a conviction that there is no truth beyond what is visible, what is seen, what is heard. There is no truth beyond the senses. There is no truth in Shastra. And this is connected to their philosophy about the world. the next verse is going to tell about their philosophy so nicely. What exactly is their philosophy? What is the authority that they use to come to that philosophy, right? But all of this is connected to the idea of lack of truthfulness or lack of integrity. It's not just about lying, whether you woke up on time or not, or finished your chores or not. It's not just that. And it is after this verse that you can really define in one word who is an asura. So let us see what their philosophy is. You want me to say they instead of us? Will that make the class easier? Okay, I can switch to they. Those asuras, right? Asatyam apratishtham te
असत्यम् अप्रतिष्ठं ते
jagadahuranishwaram
जगदाहुरनीश्वरम्
अपरस्परसम्भूतम्
अपरस्परसम्भूतम्
किमन्यत् कामहेतुकम्.
किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम्.
So now let's ask them about their philosophy. I'm using them specifically here, right? Well, their philosophy is, what is the truth about this world that we see in front of us? Where has it come from? Why is it here? One, asatyam. It is false. It has no other satyam, no other truth. What you see, that is. That is all. Apratishtam. It is foundationless. It has no other substratum, no basis for things happening the way that they happen. They just happen, right? Actually, this becomes clear when you compare it with the view in Vedanta, right? The philosophy of this world is, if you see an effect, which is this world, right? Well, there must be a cause. Things don't happen out of nothing, right? So that cause, that fundamental substratum in the universe is called Brahman or existence. And you can see that every single thing in this universe exists. And it is so this whole universe is pervaded by a fundamental material called existence. Just like clay pervades the pot, the entire universe is pervaded by existence, which is this Satyam Jnanam Anantam or Satchitananda Brahman, in other words. They say, no, no, no. No Satyam, no fundamental basis. It just is. You say, how? They'll say, don't ask how. In fact, they might ask a question back. Can you see Brahman? No. Show me Brahman. You can't. No, 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 no. Then all these people who are talking to you at Brahman, they're just wasting your time. They're just fooling you. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I can't see Brahman, I guess you have a point. At a more relative level, also, we all exist in different ways. I am here in my situation. You are there in your situation, right? What is the basis for me being in my situation and you being in your situation? What is the basis for people's differing good and bad experiences? What is the basis for different situations manifesting in this world? We say karma based on dharma, adharma, means things are not random and they don't just happen for no reason. They say, no, 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 no. Just like that, random. And their best question, can you see dharma, adharma? No. Well, then why do you say it exists? Random. Can you see that after death I'm going to get punished for these things? No. Can you guarantee it? No. Then it's not true. This is their philosophy. Then anishvaram, no ishvara, meaning no intelligent principle behind this universe that is the cause of this universe, that is the reason for the intricate laws of this universe being upheld. So many times we give this example. If you see everybody following rules on the road, it means there is police on the road. If the a couple of days ago, we got stuck behind a police car in a 65 area. Now, I don't know. Guyana has one main road, by the way, right? So it's not like you can take diversions and go other ways. There's one main road across the whole country. So now there's a police car in front and Dave is driving. And this is a 65 area and we're coming back from satsang. And the police is driving at like 35 or 40, right? And we don't know the rules in Guyana properly yet. So we're sitting there and we're thinking, well, are you allowed to pass a police car if he's going slowly, or is it against the law? So we're just waiting, and if the only reason he went at that speed is because it was a police car, right? You follow the laws that you may not know also when there is a police. Now, if the world is following laws, there must be a presiding being that is presiding over those laws, controlling them. That is called Ishvara. They say, no, no, no. I don't believe it. There's no higher intelligence. There's no reason for what is happening. Therefore, there's no consequence for what you do. There's no governance. You can do whatever you want. Right? In law, people are kept in line because of fear. But if there's no fear of consequences, what will keep them in check? In fact, they ask you, you believe in God? You're so backward. They make you think you're backward, right? Then you ask them, okay, what is your philosophy on this manifestation? How did this world come? How did you come into being, if not for laws of karma and all of that? Aparaspara sambhutam. Simple coming together of male and female. That is how I came. Kimanyat kama haitakam. What more is there to say? They come together because of people come together because of desire, and this world is manifested like that. So why do beings exist? Because of passion, because of desire. There's no other cause of this world. Poof! The world is created like this. Full stop. Shh, don't ask any other questions. Right? Now, if this is their view of life, what do you think their goal of life will be? Well, eat, drink, and be merry. Right? And how will you fulfill that? Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya describes. Beg, borrow, steal, do whatever it takes to enjoy. Because karma is the cause of everything. And that is the goal also. So fulfill everything. There's nothing moral or immoral, no measure of dharma, adharma. Take loans, steal, don't pay back, eat what you want, drink what you want. There's nothing beyond this world. So nothing is going to happen when you die. Don't worry. Die? What happens when you die? The body is burned and there's nothing left to say. Have you seen anybody coming back after they die? What, you think I'll come back as a vampire or what? This is their philosophy. YOLO. You only live once. Okay, one more question. So you're saying the body is just inert? There's no consciousness? Where did your consciousness come from? They say, look, when you see the world, what do you see? Space, air, fire, water, earth. Sorry, they don't even say space, just air, fire, water, earth. 4 elements, right? Those things come together, and the inert things make consciousness. And you say, what? But I've never seen how inert things some things come together and they make something totally different. Then they'll say, have you not seen a brown cow eat green grass and give white milk? So why can't inert things come together and give something different called consciousness? You know what that feels like? I don't know if you all had this show when you were growing up, but on Cartoon Network, we had a show called Powerpuff Girls. And in the introduction of that show, there's a scientist who takes like different things and he puts them in a test tube and poof, these Powerpuff Girls are formed, right? I mean, even kids above a certain age know that that philosophy is absolutely ridiculous, right? But if you ask them, where do these things come from? Where did consciousness come from if there isn't a higher being in this universe, right? How does this world move and what is the basis of everything? Their answer, they make you think you are crazy. At one point, when I was in university, one of my friends was trying to convince me to read a book called The God Delusion, right? And every little while, I like remember that. And then I have to keep forgetting the name of the book. And I have to message and be like, hey, what is that book called again? Right? The one that disproves God. And so I messaged him just like a couple of days ago. And I was like, what's the name of that book again? And he was like, the one that disproves God? And he was like, no, no, no. It doesn't disprove God. It says there is no proof of God. Now, why will I go and read that book when already it is so hard to keep in our mind the fact that this whole universe is nothing but an expression of God. We're trying so hard to root ourselves in a conviction of some higher reality. And then we go and we read things that are going to make us more confused, right? In the stage where we're trying to develop conviction in the higher reality, we're supposed to surround ourselves with people who won't shake it, right? Anyways, the whole philosophy here is about, if you see, leave all the the nitty-gritty out. The whole basis is don't think about spirituality. You don't need it, right? Everything is about enjoying here, now, as much as possible. Don't worry about anything else except enjoying, and do what you have to take to enjoy. Okay? I don't know if you might disagree with me, but I'm not the one who is saying this. The one word that is used to describe this way of life is materialism. People who have a materialistic view of life, this is their philosophy. Only what I see exists. And I base my life on what is physical. So it is a very shallow way of looking at life. You know, anything that you see just physically is a more shallow way of looking at the world. Like when you look at the sky and you say the sky is blue, the physical appearance is a very shallow way of looking at what the sky is. Or when you look at something and you say it is solid, right? That is also, scientists will tell you that is extremely shallow because this thing is 99% space, if not more, right? Or the sun rises. Again, shallow way of looking, right? What you see is usually the wrong thing. Right? Anyways, in the next verse, Bhagavan is going to tell the consequence of holding on to such philosophy, but we will see that next week. I want to send everyone for discussion on these are the questions, huh? See, this philosophy is filled with so many flaws. As I was talking, you might have been thinking, well, this philosophy is ridiculous. Who would say something like that? But I tell you, we fall prey to it so easily. If you sit and you, with integrity, you think, a lot of times our decisions are made thinking or forgetting there's something higher, right? Thinking in the moment about enjoyment and materialistic pleasure. That is how we end up living our life. So the question is, even though this philosophy is filled with so many flaws, how come we fall prey to it so easily? That is question one. Question two, what can we do to strengthen our conviction in the spiritual view? Means the opposite of the material view, right? Then, does compromising on our spiritual growth for short term enjoyment mean that we believe in this philosophy? Quite something to think about. And then, what is the negative trait or quality that leads someone to have this philosophy? Okay, so there's four questions, a whole set of things to discuss. I'm going to put it in the chat and then I'm going to send you all in discussion. How's everybody feeling? Like you need to take a breath?